Past continuous tense. Subjunctive mode. Actions that were being done or happening randomly in the past. Now see the format of how to make active voice sentences. If subject plus was were plus verb ing. Now see the passive voice. If plus object plus was were been plus past participle plus by. Now see the first example, active voice. If they were celebrating the anniversary. Passive voice. If the anniversary was being celebrated by them. Active voice. If he was researching the ancient history. Passive voice. If the ancient history was being researched by him. Active voice. If she was painting the nails a bright color. Passive voice. If the nails were being painted a bright color by her. Active voice. If he was sharpening the kitchen knives. Passive voice. If the kitchen knives were being sharpened by him. Active voice. If we were fixing the roof on the house. Passive voice. If the roof on the house was being fixed by us. Active voice. If he was practicing the guitar. Passive voice. If the guitar was being practiced by him. Active voice. If we were planning the vacation. Passive voice. If the vacation was being planned by us. Active voice. If I was checking the emails during the lunch. Passive voice. If the emails were being checked by me during the lunch. Active voice. If he was explaining the rules of the game. Passive voice. If the rules were being explained by him of the game. Active voice. If I was editing a video for the project. Passive voice. If a video was being edited by me for the project. Active voice. If the students were discussing the assignment in the class. Passive voice. If the assignment was being discussed by the student in the class. Active voice. If the workers were repairing the road. Passive voice. If the road was being repaired by the workers. Active voice. If I was arranging the flowers in a vase. Passive voice. If the flowers were being arranged by me in a vase. Active voice. If she was designing a poster for the event. Passive voice. If a poster was being designed by her for the event. Active voice. If he was sketching a landscape at the park. Passive voice. If a landscape was being sketched by him at the park. Active voice. If the teacher was explaining the concept to the student. Passive voice. If the concept was being explained by the teacher to the student. Active voice. If the chef was preparing a delicious meal. Passive voice. If a delicious meal was being prepared by the chef. Active voice. If the students were solving the difficult maths problem. Passive voice. If the difficult maths problem was being solved by the students. Active voice. If the company was launching a new product yesterday. Passive voice. If a new product was being launched by the company yesterday. Active voice. If the engineer was designing a sustainable building. Passive voice. If a sustainable building was being designed by the engineer. Active voice. If the children was building a sandcastle on the beach. Passive voice. If a sandcastle was being built by the children on the beach. Active voice. If the scientist was conducting the research. Passive voice. If the research was being conducted by the scientist. Active voice. If the writer was publishing a novel last year. Passive voice. If a novel was being published by the writer last year. Active voice. If the farmers were harvesting the crops in the early morning. Passive voice. If the crops were being harvested by the farmers in the early morning. Active voice. If the audience was applauding the performance enthusiastically. Passive voice. If the performance was being applauded by the audience enthusiastically. Active voice. If the photographer was capturing the sunrise perfectly. Passive voice. If the sunrise was being captured by the photographer perfectly. Active voice. If the doctor was treating the patients with great care. Passive voice. If the patient was being treated by the doctor with great care. Active voice. If the musician was composing a beautiful symphony. Passive voice. If a beautiful symphony was being composed by the musician. Active voice. If the customer was purchasing a new laptop online. Passive voice. If a new laptop was being purchased by the customer online. Active voice. If the volunteers were cleaning the park on Saturday. Passive voice. If the park was being cleaned by the volunteers on Saturday. In next tutorial, I will bring you tenses in English grammar with meaningful lessons. Please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icons to get latest videos notification and share my video among your friends. See you in future video.